Hi guys, I'm the CHALL, your channel for football and basketball combined, and welcome to episode 3 of NBA Rumour Review. So today we've got stories from the likes of Cleveland, Phoenix, New York. We've also got other great stories as well we're going to talk about in this video, including two players we previously discussed in a previous Rumour Review. So let's get into NBA Rumour Review episode 3 and let's talk about our first trade story. So since we first talked about Devin Booker possibly going to the Knicks, most of the NBA's trade rumours have focused on the rising Phoenix star. Booker is coming off of what would have been his best season yet had it not been cut due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In his 62 starts of the 1920 season, he averaged 26.1 points per game, 6.6 assists and 4.2 rebounds on 48.7% shooting from the field. He also shot 36% from beyond the arc, and the 23-year-old has averaged 22.3 career points for the Suns and averaged at least 20 points since his sophomore season. Now there's plenty to make Booker an attractive candidate for any team, and according to Bleacher Report, the new Knicks president Leon Rose has ties to Booker and becoming an even more likely player for New York after the New York Post's Mark Berman noted Devin Booker could emerge as a trade target for the New York Knicks per New York Post Berman, who says since Leon Rose was hired as president, the player to watch out for most is Suns combo guard Devin Booker, according to league sources. Now, he says, however, since Leon Rose was hired as president, the player to watch out for was Devin Booker, and if Rose hires Tom Thibodeau, Towns, a former Rose client, no longer makes sense because of the history. Now, Booker and Towns were Rose's clients who played at Kentucky, which means Knicks advisor William Wesley is close to each, and Rose has done well with Kentucky standouts because of Wesley. However, how realistic are the rumours? While the potential hire of Thibodeau by Rose makes Booker a more likely target than Towns, there may be a couple of challenges to his departing Phoenix for New York. For one, an opposing executive doubted the legitimacy of the trade rumour, according to SNY's NBA insider Ian Bagley, who asked one opposing executive for their thoughts about whether the Knicks trade for Devin Booker is realistic, and they sent a straightforward reply, lol. So the reason that this is such a long shot, Booker is under contract for next 4 seasons, and the closer a player gets to the final year of his contract, the more leverage he has to force a trade. So let's assume that Booker wants to leave Phoenix and gets moved to New York, because he has 4 years remaining on the deal. There doesn't appear to be much Booker can do to force Phoenix to make a trade. Now, beyond an anonymous source discrediting the claim, the main issue here seems to be his contract. His 5-year, $158 million extension with the Suns only began in the 2019-2020 season, so he still has 4 seasons of a big payout left, and with so much time left in the contract, it'll be taking a monumental trade proposal from Phoenix to want to deal away their star guard. So that, my friends, is the latest on the Devin Booker situation. Now, this is an ever rapidly growing story, and this is an ever growing story about Devin Booker trending away potentially to from the Phoenix Suns to the New York Knicks. Now, like I said in there, Devin Booker's had his best career season in my opinion, and he's a star on the rise in my opinion. But I don't think, and I said this in the past, I don't think that Devin Booker will leave Phoenix. I think he will stay, and that is because of his contract. I think his contract, there's still a lot left to go. But the longer Thibodeau stays at New York, the more chance they've got of hiring him to New York in a few years' time. So maybe in the last year of his contract or the last 2 years of his contract. So that's all on Devin Booker, and let's move on to our next story here on Rumour Review. And this is surrounding the Cleveland Cavaliers' longtime servant, Kevin Love. So Kevin Love has spent 6 seasons with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he signed through to the end of 2022-2023 season. However, it's not a guarantee that that'll be there until the end of the contract. The Cavaliers are likely still several years away from being a contender in the Eastern Conference at least. They have some talented young guards on their roster and acquired centre Andre Drummond in a trade with the Detroit Pistons earlier this season. Plus, they'll continue to add young talent through the draft, so does Love fit into Cleveland's plans? Now, Chris Fedora of Cleveland.com recently wrote that the Cavaliers still want him around and thinks he'll be a positive influence during their rebuild. However, it's also possible they would struggle to trade him right now even if they wanted to. The league sees him in a different way, an oft-injured 31-year-old forward with a bloated contract whose best basketball is in the past and may become unhappy in certain situations, Fedor wrote. The trade offers that reflected that. Until his value league-wide and internally more closely aligned, it's hard to see a trade. Now, the Athletic's Seth Parts now also doesn't believe the Cavs are likely to trade Love, who is set to make $31.3 million each of the next 2 seasons and $28.9 million in the final year of his contract in 2022 to 2023. Now, the Cavaliers aren't among the 22 teams participating in the 1920 season restart in Orlando, so Love will have plenty of time to get ready for next season, and it also gives time for Cleveland to determine how it wants to construct its roster around players such as Kevin Love before next season arrives. So that, my friends, is the latest from Kevin Love. Now, I've got a straightforward answer for this. He should not leave Cleveland. I believe, sorting out my cap, I believe that Kevin Love should stay at Cleveland. And I believe that because he will still have years left in him. I still think he's got some talent left in him. And I think he'll still provide the goods. He'll still be there when Cleveland need him. But more importantly than that, away from the pitch, he's a leader. He's a leader in the basketball locker room. He's a leader. He's got experience. He's got a wide range of experience, and he's a leader on the pitch, on the court, and behind the locker room as well. So you need experienced leaders in that dressing room, even though they're not playing game in, game out like some of the young rising stars are. You still need that leader to help lead them into battle against the opposition team. And to have a leader like Kevin Love with so many years of experience is the right way to go, in my opinion. So I think they need to keep him and just keep him in the fray. So that is all on Kevin Love. And now let's look at another player that we've been discussing in a previous episode, and that is Victor Oladipo. So according to fadeawayworld.net, more than sports, the Lakers could land Victor Oladipo for a trade package centered on Kyle Kuzma, another player that we've spoken about in the past. Now, Victor Oladipo has had a tough look to start his NBA career. He went second overall to the Orlando Magic, but struggled to establish himself as either a guard spot. He started to play well for Oklahoma City Thunder and was traded to the Indiana Pacers, where he blossomed before suffering 2 career-threatening injuries. While healthy, it's pretty clear that Oladipo is a difference maker, a talented, athletic, smart two-way combo guard that could help any contending team take a step forward. However, there are serious concerns regarding his ability to stay healthy, and he's reportedly lost lateral quickness after the 2 injuries, and more importantly, his desire to extend his contract with the Pacers. So with that in mind, Zach Buckley of Bleacher Report put together a trade package that would send the former second overall pick to the LA Lakers this summer in change for Danny Green, Talon Horton-Tucker, and a 2020 first round pick alongside Kyle Kuzma. So, officially from Buckley's report, it quotes, "Between Oladipo's injuries and contract uncertainty, Indiana could encounter a more tepid market than his pedigree would suggest. This might scratch enough itches for the Pacers to accept. Kuzma is a crown jewel as a 24-year-old who has already displayed his powerful scoring punch. His game could be a snug fit alongside either Miles Turner or Domantas Sabonis, allowing Indy to trade the other to balance the roster. Green's 3-and-D game fits with anyone, so the Pacers can keep him to compete next season or see what the market would offer for him as his expiring $15.4 million contract ahead of the 2021 free agency. This trade would make a lot of sense for the Lakers, and their title window may close sooner than expected if Anthony Davis signs a short-term deal that fits LeBron James' timeline. Adding Oladipo to the mix would help them right away and give them another potential franchise player in case both James and Davis leave the team. The Pacers, on the other hand, don't seem 100% convinced on Oladipo as their guy going forward after Domantas Sabonis and Miles Turner mesh so well together, so they would be glad to take whatever they can for him, and this would be a great return. Needless to say, this is all hypothetical at this point, but both Oladipo and Kuzma have been rumoured to be on the trading block, so we'll have to follow the stories pretty closely in these upcoming months. So that then is the latest regarding Kyle Kuzma and Victor Oladipo, as well as the other players and the pick involved in this rumoured trade deal. Now, like the report says, Kyle Kuzma has been reported for a trade in the future, in the near future perhaps, and Oladipo talked about in the past as well as Kuzma in previous videos. So, you know, this is definitely a potential deal that could happen, and I think it would make sense for the Lakers, but for the Pacers, they're going to have to invest massively to try and create like a future around the positions where Turner and Sabonis seem to be working like clockwork. And I say that because even though Miles Turner and Domantas Sabonis are an experienced partnership and they've meshed together really well, I think you still need those youngsters in those positions that will be backup and can create their own partnership as a future partnership for when Turner and Sabonis either retire or move on. Now, it's very important, the draft, because it brings in the future stars, and I think it's going to be important for the Pacers as one of those teams that's going to be especially important in the draft, amongst other teams. So it'll be an interesting one to watch. It'll be interesting to see if Oladipo will get game time at the Lakers, especially if James or Davis don't leave the team. You know, where does that make Oladipo if he does get traded to the Lakers? But we'll keep eyes on it as usual. Now, the Lakers are actually involved in our final Rumour review story. So like the previous story, according to fadeawayworld.net, more than sports, LeBron James and Anthony Davis have the Lakers squarely at the top of the Western Conference standings. This postseason, they're one of the handful of teams seen as having the biggest chance to hoist the Larry O'Brien trophy at season's end, but even the Lakers aren't perfect, and despite their success during this campaign, they have a number of flaws that could be exploited if they don't look to fix it this off-season. In a recent article by Andy Bailey of Bleacher Report, he details a particularly interesting deal that could bring in Milwaukee's Eric Bledsoe to bolster their backcourt. So, the official quote states, "For the Bucks, getting a first-round pick might help soften the blow of giving up the best player in the deal, but Green certainly helps too. The Bucks' model of surrounding Giannis with as much shooting as potential has been a good one, and Green is a more reliable shooter than Bledsoe. His size also makes him a bit more believable as a multi-positional defender. He won't do nearly as much on his own, but the Bucks already have Giannis and Middleton to handle most of the playground duties. For LA, Bledsoe could relieve his aging Bron of point guard duties, and as a scorer and above-average defender, he'd be a superior addition to the team who would bring value to the squad at both ends of the floor. For Danny Green and Alex Caruso involved in the deal, they aren't star players, but would help add shooting and offensive potency for the team. And with Giannis and Chris Middleton, all the Bucks might really need is a strengthened backcourt to secure their first title of the century. It's hard to predict the chances of such a move being made, as Milwaukee's starting point guard, there is no indication the team is willing to trade Eric Bledsoe, especially in a deal to their biggest rival in the West. But the questions about Giannis' future continue to loom. They might feel changes are necessary if it means convincing their star they're serious about surrounding him with talent. So that, my friends, is the last story, and that is talking about Eric Bledsoe, Danny Green and Alex Caruso heading over, while Eric Bledsoe heads back over to the Lakers. Now, obviously, this is definitely an interesting one. Now, again, the Lakers are involved in a trade rumour, and there's not really much to say on this, really, apart from I know what Caruso and Green can do. And I think that along with a pick, I think that it's future and, you know, backup talent that's going to help surround Giannis and maybe convince him to stay if there is any rumours going around that he's leaving. So I think this should be an absolute no-brainer. I think that Giannis Antetokounmpo should stay at the Bucks, and I think that this may help them. But if it doesn't go ahead, at least he's still got the #1 point guard to partner up with him in the rest of the team. So thank you very much, guys, for watching episode 3 of NBA Rumour Review. I'll see you guys next Wednesday or Thursday, depending on when it gets uploaded, for episode 4. But for now, guys, I'm the CHALL. Make sure you stay tuned for British Basketball League Off the Court, the series for the BBL, just like this, that's going to be taking place every Sunday. I'll see you guys then. Take care. Goodbye.